Hunter Valley Luxury Hotels is a unique investment opportunity within the New South Wales Hunter Valley, a region that attracts 1.5 million visitors each year. The project is centred around the historic Ben Een estate, a 164-acre property acquired from the renowned winemaker Brian McGuigan. The strategic vision involves transforming this site into a luxury designer hotel. This will encompass 65 oversized rooms, a premier fine dining establishment, bars, pool, gym, and a world-class European rejuvenation spa. The hotel's design ethos emphasises contemporary and theatrical elements, featuring modernist art and sculptures, including works by acclaimed artist Gillian Mark. For guests, this translates into a meticulously curated art experience, providing unexpected artistic encounters throughout their stay. This initiative addresses a 15-year void in new 5-star luxury accommodation within the region. It will provide guests with premium accommodations amidst working vineyards, offering elevated vistas and exceptional culinary experiences derived from high-quality local ingredients. Beyond the hotel, the project involves a new subdivision currently under consideration with the council, establishing separate titles for the hotel and the Ben Een estate, thereby enhancing their asset values. Furthermore, a new master plan is being prepared to expand the commercial buildings on the Ben Een estate site. Hunter Valley Luxury Hotels is led by a highly experienced team. The project is actively seeking to raise up to $20 million through promissory notes. These notes offer tiered fixed returns ranging from 10 to 12.7% per annum, dispersed on a monthly basis. Projected repayment timeline of 3 years upon project completion and subsequent refinancing. Investors will also receive exclusive benefits, including complimentary hotel stays and invitations to private events.
Hello and welcome to this truly one-of-a-kind investor event. I'm Nadine Blayney from Ausbiz. Well, today you have the opportunity to ask questions of quite an extraordinary group of people about quite an extraordinary project that will soon become a reality that you have the opportunity to be a part of. So here with me in the studio is Managing Director of Hunter Valley Luxury Hotels, Dominic Lambrinos.
Hello, Nadine.
Welcome, wonderful to have you here. The Chair, John Houston, thank you. Needs no introduction. And winemaking legend, Brian McGuigan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nadine.
Well, look, we've seen and been introduced to this hotel. We'll talk about its name a little bit later on. But just get us, Brian, maybe you know, what is special about this site, this place in particular?
Well, as you know, the Hunter Valley is a very spectacular place. We are sort of between the Great Dividing Range and also the Broken Back Range. And our property is right at the foot of the Broken Back Range. And it's spectacular because we have beautiful soil there for the growing of lovely grapes that make beautiful wine. But also we have a spine that runs down the centre of our block, of our Ben Een block, that facilitates the building of hotel units on one side, the north side, or the southern side. And it's spectacular because it will give people privacy. They will be located right in amongst the vines. Their units will be such that when they look out of the front window every morning, there will be the vineyard and the grapes that go into the wine made for Ben Een will be right in front of them. So it'll be a charming place, private place, but spectacular.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a property that you have invested, you know,
Yes.
blood, sweat, tears, and money into
Yes.
to make it as it is.
We bought the property from Penfolds Wines and Lindeman's Wines. They both owned it, and it had been closed for a time. And Colin and I thought, my partner thought, as well as our families thought, that we should retain such an important component of the Australian wine industry. In the Hunter, Nadine, we're 200 years old. The wine industry's 200 years old in 2028. And that's a great achievement. And we have some of the oldest vines in the world there because we've kept those vines going all this time. And so it's a phenomenal bit of history right there in the Hunter. And this hotel will be right on that block of land.
Dominic, I can see that you're getting excited just listening to that. But this is working vineyards still. This is going to be really unique as far as the site goes.
That's right. Well, just talking about the site, it's whilst I wanted to build a hotel, I wanted to build a bit of a different hotel, not just one in one building, traditional hotel. But when we saw the site and what was available, we have this lovely ridge, which is about over a kilometre long. Part of that, so about 700 metres, is this now snaking resort made up of 12 pavilions. So some pavilions are, it could be the main restaurant or the spa or the pool. But you have pavilions which include 10 villas each, which are all the rooms. Those rooms are in the vineyard itself. So you actually have now what will be a very luxurious resort in a commercial vineyard. I don't know anywhere in the world that does that. So quite likely, at certain times of the year, you'll be sitting in your room and people will be picking the grapes in front of you. Or if you're inclined, you can join them and help them pick the grapes. And the wines that you'll be drinking were made from those grapes the year before.
Pretty incredible.
It is.
Very unique.
Yeah.
And, just to address some of what was in that introductory that we saw, or that introduction that we saw just a short time ago. So there has been a 15-year void in any type of luxury accommodation coming online within the Hunter Valley, is my understanding. Why is that? Why is that?
Well, it's hard work to put a project like this together financially. So banks aren't inclined to lend on hotels or on vineyards, and to actually work through the modelling and to determine an asset which has a future cash flow. People don't tend to be very highly skilled in this country for that. So it's easier for people to, as in the past, have been to buy an old hotel which is run down, renovate it, and then sell it as a new hotel, right? But and hotels within Toronto, Sydney, there's a litany of those hotels. But I want to do something different and build a new hotel. So, and I've got the experience as an accountant and financially to work my way through the labyrinth on how to get through it, and the development experience. Brian, you also, why hasn't anyone built there for the last 15 years or more?
Well, quite simply, we've been through a number of stresses over the last 20 years. And really, since we've had a new hotel in the planning, it's more like 20 years. And, whilst we have great hotels there, they don't have the spit and polish that we need to attract people from overseas, from Sydney, from Newcastle, to come to a really luxurious place with the added features that this property gives your project. And so it'll be wonderful, and it will be wonderful for the wine industry, because we have people coming from all over the world, Nadine, to look at us and see what we do, because they know that our wines perform very well against other wines. And so those people will come just to try our product, see what we do, and hopefully harmonise with what we do.
Well, everybody I have who visits from overseas, Hunter Valley is on their list. They always check that off. So, John, you're involved with this project. You're the chair. The demand is there, not just from, the close proximity to Sydney, presumably, but internationally as well.
Yes, I think we'll attract people from right around Australia and from overseas. It will be a destination experience, and people will come here, I think, for that.
And the hotel's being built, to make it special and stand out, you really must approach a project like this with international theme or international standards in mind. And that's what we've done. We've picked the best of the best and that Australia's got to offer, and who are known internationally to contribute to the project.
The other thing, Nadine, is for the first time we have international flights flying into our capital city, Newcastle. And Newcastle, as you would know, is only sort of 30 minutes away from the vineyard.
Well, that actually brings me to my next point. So the new subdivision is currently under consideration by the council.
Yes.
So what approval stage is that at? How long is that journey before we would, get an ultimate outcome?
Well, we've lodged all the documents. And Brian actually and Colin started the process.
Mm-hmm.
And when we came in, we took it over. So that's all been lodged with council. And with all these things, there's a multitude of reports. So we've done all those, and we expect the approval to come through before the end of July.
And Brian, maybe you can answer this. If you know the area, you know the people,
Yes.
is it likely to be approved? I mean, does this whole project have community support from what you can tell?
It does, yes. There were 2 people had some questions, but no one has put in an official objection to the hotel. Look, I think all the local people think that it's a great idea. And it is a great idea because we need to attract the new tourist that needs to come to the Hunter in luxury circumstances. As you said at the outset, our project is the newest for the last 15 years. But the last hotel was planned some 20 years ago. We need it. We need to be correct for the people who are going to come there. We're going to project quality. We're going to project a wonderful visit. And this hotel looks great. You've seen it, all the drawings and things. And it's going to be a great success, I am sure.
So the master plan being prepared was to also expand the commercial buildings on the site. What would you envision that being like?
Well,
would investors get exposure to that as well, is what I'm asking,
That's
I
correct.
suppose.
Yes, they do, and they get the benefit of that approval, and that hasn't been lodged yet. They're still in the planning process. It takes a bit longer, but the idea is there's commercial property there already, and it's all fully leased out. And there's a lovely, it's probably the most popular restaurant in Hunter Valley there, isn't it?
I'd say it would be. We get lots of visitors there to the Beaumay restaurant.
Beaumay restaurant,
Beaumay restaurant.
And there's a
and
couple of receptions.
weddings and all that sort of thing.
And
great activity there already.
With a big car park. So the infrastructure's there. So why not build on it rather than create something from scratch? I think there's a need to move away from the more sterile commercial space in the general part of Pecolbin, where a lot of people go, into something more rustic. So we're looking at building these big barns and having the retailers in the barn. So it gives a bit of a market feel to it. And we've now got council to approve this area as an art area for Pecolbin. So the hotel has a lot of art. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But the whole of Benin will be an art area. So there'll be a lot of artisans coming in there. So not just painters and sculptors, but also manufacturers of artisan foods.
So it becomes a real destination.
Absolutely, yeah.
John, maybe I'll take a step back. How and why did you get involved with this project?
Well, I just thought it was a great project. Dom and I have been talking about doing something together for some time.
Yeah.
And this really came out as an outstanding opportunity. I've had a fair bit of experience with startups, and they're not easy work. You spend a lot of time quite often. You wonder why they all get started. But quite frankly, this one is really built around a team of people that really do know what they're doing. Excellent team. People who've got hotel management experience, and winemakers, of course, and property developers. We have good landscapers,
Good chefs.
excellent chefs.
Excellent chef doing the food and beverage,
And good accountants.
Too many accountants.
Look, Dominic, you might have touched upon it already, but just so we can get the feel, why are you so passionate about bringing this to life?
Look, I've been involved with hotels for a long time, 30 years. And I must admit, especially in the early days, I haven't had the best hotels. And I just feel that Sydney it deserves a great hotel. Melbourne's got a similar hotel called Jackalope, but that's in one building, right? Different to what we're building. And it's got some great artwork in spaces like Point Leo. But we are very, very sad not to have those kind of facilities. So to actually bring something about that people can just say, yes, I feel like a luxurious experience. Let's drive for 2 hours, not fly to Melbourne or fly to Queensland, fly to Cairns or wherever you want to go for a luxurious hotel. But there's one on your doorstep, and a truly luxurious experience on your doorstep. That's what I want to do, and give it to Sydney.
Can you hurry up and get started? I'm kidding. We're not quite there just yet. So here's a question. Why are you raising funds this way? So including wholesale investors in this process rather than just going to some big private credit operator or bank or financier?
Well, look, I enjoy the journey, right? So I enjoy the whole process. And I just felt it might be a nice way to involve people into the project. You know, there's a lot of boring investments which do okay, right? But, you know, they just sit there and you get your return. In this case, it is unusual and, you know, there's a little bit more risk than other ones, but it's a solid model. It's really great people. And the people, you know, who are in charge have all had successful careers. You know, so to provide that kind of security for people to look at and determine if it's right for them, but at the same time, give them access to a product, which is, if you like wine, it's a bit of fun. So, you know, you when you become an investor, you get a case of wine from grapes made on the estate. You get that every year. And you get invited to dinners, and you get invited to, you know, you get free accommodation for a week a year for the first 3 years. You get treated like royalty when you arrive at the hotel. And it sort of feels like it's everyone's project, not just mine. And that's the idea of why I decided to expand the investment outside of my own realm.
That suits you, does it, Brian?
Certainly does. But it gives me the opportunity of saying something else to you. Because I've been asked to before, Nadine, if all this is so good, why the hell are you selling him the property? And the fact of the matter is, if you look closely, Nadine, you'll see that I'm getting a little bit of age on.
Never.
Hardly.
In fact, last week I was 83.
No.
And so I am organising my affairs. And Colin and I bought this place because we wanted to keep one of Australia's most famous wineries alive. And this is going to stay alive and be developed. And that will be great for our pioneers who developed the wine industry. You know that this is the oldest wine industry in Australia. No vineyards are older than any of this vineyard. And so we want to keep it that way. And we have got the original vines that came from Europe back in the 1820s. We're coming up to our 200 years and we want to keep that. And we want to have something there that people will look back and say, gee, those people thought about it and did it well, didn't they?
And kept it.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps. That's good.
And you've won so many awards.
Won quite a few awards,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
In fact, you've won awards from
London.
You've won
Yeah,
the best wine in the world award, haven't you?
Yeah.
Isn't that? Sorry,
Yeah.
I had to say that, Brian.
Well, I've been around.
I'm shy.
I've been around many tables with McGuigan wine, so there you go. Back to business. Apologies. Big question, but why is this a good investment?
Well, as I was saying before, it's based on good fundamentals, right? So you're not building a hotel in the middle of nowhere. You're building it into a established tourist area. But that tourist area has been devoid of good product for decades, of more, 15 years, 20 years. So we're now putting a great product in there. And then and so the fundamentals with Sydney, 6 million people, it all works well. You've got a good team of people behind you, and you've got a good return. I mean, we talk about the best, Brian, one of the best winemakers in the world, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Cole Peterson, one of the best winemakers in Australia. You've got, the guy who's in charge of The food is Justin North, one of the best chefs in Australia, and it just keeps on going. So we've picked a team where people are the best, but internationally acclaimed, but Australian. So, but at the same time, whilst we get the fundamentals right, and we feel that's strong, it has a good return, and we feel that that's probably a fair return for people for this investment.
Well, maybe I can ask then, how did the different sort of tiered approach work? I note that in some of the communication about the project, it says that it's between a 10 to 12.5% return.
Sure.
How does that work?
Well, and that depends on how much you invest, right? So people who commit more are obviously rewarded more, right? And take that leap of faith, So of 100,000 to just say 250 gets you 10%. 250 to $500,000 investment gets you 11.3%. And over 500,000 gets you 12.7%. And that's paid monthly.
And the minimum investment, correct me if I'm wrong, is 100,000.
Correct, yes.
We have had a question coming from Charmaine, who's a viewer, and thank you for those of you who are putting your questions in. We do appreciate it. She does ask, though, would you consider investments under 100,000, or is it a hard and fast minimum?
Look, there's a lot of administration, Charmaine, in order to getting this through, right? So if it's 10,000, I'll probably have to say no, but if it's 90,000, we'd say yes. So it really is a case-by-case basis, but it makes it easier for us to have a minimum amount, Nadine. So because there is a lot of management of that investment. But no, we'd certainly look at it, and we would, and it would be on a case-by-case basis there.
Yeah, and there's only so many weeks in a year to be having a week's free stay for your investment. So take that into consideration, Charmaine, as well.
That's good.
What's the average that people are looking to invest in?
Well, so far, when we started, it was around 100 to 100, 200. But now the average is clearly 250 to 350. And we've got several investments have come in and are coming in around $1 million. So, but that's not the common, but the average is about 250.
Okay. And how long is the investment for?
3 years.
3 years.
So, and the investment's over it sort of steps over two parts. There's the development side, and then once it's developed, it's the operating side. So the 3 years, goes through both those cycles. So if you invested 6 months ago, you'll finish a bit earlier in the investment cycle. So you'll be earlier in the hotel operation side. If you invest now, you'll be probably a bit later in the operation side.
And the returns are paid monthly?
Paid monthly into your bank account before the end of each month. Yep.
I feel like we're getting heavy into the nuts and bolts, but that's what the audience is here for.
Yes.
Happy.
Just taking one step back, though, I know that there's been a real emphasis placed on the art and incorporating contemporary art. That's your passion, is it?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yes. Well, when you see some of the works, they're quite incredible. But you've got a great affinity for dogs
and rabbits. So you probably see it on the screen now. But look, this artwork is done by Gillian Mark, and I can tell you about all their accolades. Being one of the most successful artists that have come out of Australia commercially. But recently, in the New York Times, they were awarded the best street artist in the world. And this hotel is the first hotel in the world which will display all their art, their sculptures, in the buildings and along the paths. So so you have these lovely art tours that's been curated to see all this lovely artwork that they make.
And that will be a draw card for international tourists as well, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And they've got a lot of international following. And but the other part of the art is it's whimsical. It's a bit of fun. So the hotel is luxury, but the art brings a bit of interest in terms of making it a bit funny, happy, and much more a much happier experience. Yeah,
well, I can assure you, I was chatting with these gentlemen before the event, and there's quite a lot of goodwill and happiness around the table, so that's great. So we're looking at a 3-year time horizon. What happens, though, after the whole hotel is constructed to the
hotel is constructed, then the investment then goes into the ownership, like in the operation of the hotel, right? And then the 3 years are up, and we pay them back. So that's how that works, and we get that money out of the financing of the hotel. we finance the hotel, and then that financing pays them back after 3 years.
I have a question coming from Adam, and he asks, and I would assume this is for you, Dominic, as well. What is a promissory note? Do they have a defined term? So I guess it's just a little bit of, it's a loan. Yeah. So they're giving
a
loan to Hunter Valley Luxury Hotels.
And then that loan pays them a rate per month or per year, which is then distributed to them in cash in the bank account monthly.
Good. Now, somebody else has asked, I'm sorry, I don't have the name for this one, but how do I get my money back? It's just being paid out upon the defined terms of the note. So
during the whole process, you've got a value of the hotel, which is worth more than people's promissory notes, right? So there's a buffer, okay? So that protects people along the way. And at the end, you use that value as it goes up, right? And it's built, it's worth more when it's finished than when it's bricks and mortar on the paddock. So when it's built, it's worth more, and then we refinance the hotel and pay people out.
And what's this beautiful place going to be called?
Well, that's a secret, Brian.
That's a secret.
So HVL Hotels is our corporate name, but the hotel will have its own little special name, and but that's still a bit of a secret, Nadine.
Has it been decided upon? Can you tell us that?
Yeah, well, sort of. It's gone out to some marketing, you know.
Okay.
So yes, it's a secret.
We do little internal polls here at Ausbiz in our newsroom. I can teach you how to do what you like. This is all very exciting. So another question is, how is my investment secured during the whole term? I mean, I think it's a good question for those who are balancing, risk and reward, which all investors do.
Of course. And, my money's in it too. So, you have a value of the hotel. You have a buffer, which is about 20%, and then you got the amount after the buffer, and then that has to cover all the liabilities or all the note holders. And as long as that's there, then they're covered. Right? So, and if it's not secured, I need to make that clear. But it is secured, but only if there's an event of default. So if we do something wrong, then all the note holders become secured creditors. So they're up the front of the queue.
And that also is the case if you default on the interest, isn't it?
That's a default, major default,
Yeah.
But it has to be it can't be like a day late. It's like if we just can't pay the interest, that's a major default. Yes, of course, Brian.
Yeah. And then the security for that is the property itself.
Yes, the property itself, but as an amount, it's the property less a buffer of 20%. So the value might be 25 or 30 million now, less 20%, and that amount covers all the note holders.
Correct. Yeah.
I think that's an important point as well. And I hate to put it crudely, but it's often asked of us. You've got skin in the game.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's
lots of skin.
Yeah, okay.
But my skin is after the note holders. So I get my money last back. So I don't, I even get it after the creditors. So my money I put in there, the term is subordinated.
And so timelines, John, what are we looking at? Because we know how difficult it is to get these things off the ground. We know how building builders are in short supply. Are we looking at 3 years?
No.
How long?
Well, I think probably half that time.
Yeah, I think we're looking at summer 2026, summer 2027.
Really?
Yeah.
We started yesterday.
How so?
Drilling holes
Really?
yesterday.
Yeah, started yesterday. Construction started yesterday.
How exciting was that?
Yeah, pretty exciting. That's good. But we had all these paddle pop people on the road, stopping traffic in the middle of the road.
Yeah, creating chaos.
We had big trucks drilling holes yesterday. So so we started yesterday. But don't forget, when you're building a building, you're restricted. You can't build level 2 until you finish level 1, 3 until 2. But here we've got 12 pavilions. So we can build 6 pavilions at the same time, and we have a bit of a conveyor belt. One team building all the accommodation room, and another team building the main room with all the restaurants and all that, and then another team building the pool, another team building the spa. So you can do a lot of things simultaneously. So your period of construction comes down to about 16 months.
Yes, It's just not multi-floors, you see.
Yeah.
That's what makes it good. And that's why we can tuck it into the vineyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it really lives in and amongst the landscape
Yeah,
rather than
sure.
dominating
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, it sounds pretty incredible.
good. It is
I'm actually
really.
surprised that it's looking to be, I
Yeah.
guess, able to take bookings from mid-2026. Put my name on the list, please, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And I'll take you for a wine
Oh,
trip.
I'd love that.
And how much, it's
So
gone.
a bit of a legacy project for all of you.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly right.
Well,
It will be there after we all leave. It will be there after my 30-year-old, my son leaves. Probably be there when my grandchild is around. So when you're building these things, they have a legacy and it has tenure. So it's important to do it right. And so it is important for us to be enthusiastic
And
about the whole project.
it's important for the wine industry's pioneers too.
Mm.
Eh?
It's true.
I mean, that's so important. We have
it respects the
Carl Stockhausen's ashes at the front of the winery. He was a magnificent winemaker, and he really kept that place immaculate and going for years. And he lies there right at our entrance.
That's our intent. We respect all the heritage.
I'm
We should
beside
respect
him.
all the heritage that Brian's created and extend that through.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say legacy, it's legacy, not just legacy.
big legacy.
Yeah.
Dominic, John, Brian, thank you so much for joining us today and connecting with our audience. We're really excited to see this vision come to life, and thank you for watching.